12,000 years ago, long before pharaohs carved their pyramids, long before kings raised cities of stone, human hands lifted monuments that should not exist. On a hilltop in ancient Anatolia, hunter-gatherers people without farms, without villages, without writing raised towering pillars, carved with beasts and symbols. They gathered not to plant, not to build homes, but to build meaning. This place is called Göbekli Tepe, and it is the world's first temple. The story begins not in prehistory, but in the 20th century. For decades, archaeologists walked past the mound that locals called Potbelly Hill. It looked like nothing more than a ridge of stone and earth until 1994, when German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt began to dig. What he found changed human history. Buried beneath the soil were massive T-shaped pillars ranged in circles. Some stood over 16 feet tall. Some weighed more than 10 tons. Their surfaces were alive with carvings, foxes mid-leap, scorpions with raised tails, serpents winding endlessly, vultures looming over headless bodies. This was not a village. This was not a tomb. This was something older, stranger, and far more important. For centuries, scholars told the same story of civilization. First came farming. Farming created villages. Villages created cities. Cities created temples. Göbekli Tepe shattered that order. Here was a temple that predated farming itself. It was built by nomads who hunted gazelle, gathered wild wheat, and moved with the seasons. And yet they raised a place that required planning, unity, and vision on a scale no one thought possible. They had no kings, no cities, no writing, but they had gods or something close enough to gods that they carved them into stone. Imagine the work. At dawn, dozens of people gather around a slab freshly cut from the hillside. There are no wheels, no oxen, no pulleys, only stone tools, wood, sledges, ropes, and raw human will. They drag the pillar across the slope, inch by inch, hands blistering, voices straining in rhythm. It takes days, maybe weeks. At last, the pillar reaches its circle. A pit is ready, ropes tighten, posts creak, the stone groans upright. When it settles into place, a roar echoes across the hilltop. They have pulled the earth itself into order. The circles at Göbekli Tepe are more than architecture. They are scripts written without letters. The animals carved into the pillars were not decoration, they were symbols of a worldview. Foxes slink across spaces, scorpions crawl at eye level, vultures stretch their wings on central stones. Arms and folded hands are edged along the sides. Belts buckle across waists. Loincloths hinted in chevrons. These were not merely stones. They were beings, guardians, ancestors, deities. The builders gave form to forces larger than themselves. But why? Why would hunter-gatherers invest such colossal energy in carving pillars instead of chasing prey? One theory says this was a place of death, a temple where bodies were offered to vultures, so spirits could rise to the heavens. The carvings of headless humans and circling birds echo this. Another theory says the pillars mirrored the sky itself, that the animals were constellations, carved as the first star maps. Others see a meeting ground, a sanctuary where tribes gathered to feast, make alliances, and settle disputes under the gaze of stone gods. What unites all these theories is this: Göbekli Tepe was sacred. It was not a village. No ovens for daily bread, no homes, no graveyard of the ordinary dead. It was a place set apart, where survival paused and meaning took over. For the first time in history, humans built something bigger than themselves, for reasons bigger than survival. And then comes the strangest act of all. After more than 1,000 years of use, the builders returned and buried it. They filled the circles with earth and rubble. They sealed the pillars in darkness. This was not abandonment. This was deliberate. Why entomb what was sacred? Some believe it was reverence, like closing a book with care. Others whisper it was fear that whatever power lived here had to be locked away. Perhaps new gods rose, and old gods were buried with their stones. Perhaps the hill became too heavy with death, and the living chose to seal it. Whatever the reason, the act preserved Göbekli Tepe for us when archaeologists uncovered it. The carvings looked fresh, as if carved yesterday, as if waiting. Its age alone is enough to shake us. But Göbekli Tepe forces a deeper question. Did religion come first? Did myth and ritual bring people together before farming did? For years, we thought belief was born from civilization. But Göbekli Tepe suggests the reverse. People gathered here first, feasted here first, worshipped here first, and to sustain that gathering, they began to tame plants, to settle fields, to stay close. It is possible that farming did not create temples. Temples created farming. Faith itself may have birthed civilization. Stand on the hill today, and the feeling lingers. Wind moves dust across the pillars. Carvings fade in the sun, yet the shapes remain. Two great T-pillars stand face to face in each circle, silent and watchful. They have been watching for 12,000 years. You cannot stand here without feeling seen. Göbekli Tepe is not just the world's first temple. It is humanity's first declaration that survival alone was not enough, that we needed stories, gods, and rituals as much as food and fire. The hunters who carved foxes into stone are gone. The singers who feasted in its circles are dust. The gods they raised are nameless, but their message endures. We are a species that builds meaning first and walls second. And perhaps, somewhere, in the silence of this hill, the gods of Göbekli Tepe are still watching. The dead don't whisper, they watch.